All right. So, this is kind of reflective of last chapter.
No, just on the computer. Yeah.
And I want to point out a few more little things. Mint for site planning parts. I want to show you guys a few more interesting ideas. So, think about this. If we recall the gateway function, remember the little picture, let's say from Santiago? Huh? Where am I right now?
Underbridge University, 84.
No, 84 is coming here, University. This is the gateway function of the city we live in. Little sign. By the way, this is a horseback rider. Yeah? That sign is sitting here next to the Jiffy Lube sign. Speaking of gateway, so think about this. What do certain developments do? They put up a gate. And different developments are using that gateway function with the gate for the gated community in a different way. If you go, let's say, to down in Cooper City, Embassy Road, the Embassy Lakes, really tiny building as for the guard, lots of trees and vegetation, and just that literally the gate bar that lifts up. Nothing at the end of the street, and it opens up to the whole beautiful subdivision, multiple subdivisions in that area. Versus one way people know maybe Hawks Landing has this huge drive up. The streets are curving into the drive up, large palm trees, extreme decorative lighting all year long, particularly in Christmas and Thanksgiving. There are thousands of lights up in the palm trees. And it's more like a driveway entry area to a hotel or promenade than this little tiny hidden entrance for a similar style neighborhood, but at a different time they have built that. Versus the church turn left and you're on campus. The gateway function for this campus is actually the main exit. That's a beautiful gateway hello. The other gateway function we have here on the northern connector street is that LED light panel. That's when you know that you're on campus, or you have to turn left on 30th Street to enter that. So remember that. Great spaces could be a retail space. Welcome to Universal Studio. It has a different thing going on than this. Don't want to talk down the city, but there are different ways. All right, let's talk about vision statements. Each of your teams kind of have to deal with a vision statement of what do you think, how do you develop that city. So for that, they took up a video. So this is the written version of the vision statement. Our city, our vision, will actually explain nicely what do you actually think. We are connected. We are ready. We are community. We are here. They used to do a really nice promo video on that one. Not here. All right, let's go back to the other page then. Oh, here's it.
Have you ever closed your eyes and imagined the city where you want to live, work, play, raise a family? Fast forward to Fort Lauderdale 2035. We are connected by bike paths, walking paths, greenways, waterways, planes, trains, trolleys, boats, and cars. We move seamlessly through a safe transportation system where the pedestrian is first. From new modes of transportation to electric cars, Fort Lauderdale will continue to create sustainable transportation solutions. We are ready. Surrounded by winding waterways and 7 miles of golden beaches, we are rising to the challenges and embracing the opportunities that the water presents, making our beaches, bridges, roads, and homes more resilient, By investing in our infrastructure, we'll continue to enhance our quality of life now and for the future. We are community. Because we understand that our diverse community, historic neighborhoods, and mixed-use facilities offer something for everyone. We value our neighborhoods and our neighbors. We will continue to encourage redevelopment that protects history and builds on the unique characteristics and distinct identities in our neighborhoods. We are here. From the blue wave beaches to the chic ease of Las Olas, from the riverfront to historic Sistrum to the uptown corridor. Fort Lauderdale is an urban center with a reputation for being paradise and plenty of sunshine. We celebrate our plethora of natural assets as we continue to strengthen our public places and parks. From art galleries to museums, the Performing Arts Center to festivals, we will continue to showcase our art and culture to the world. We are prosperous, establishing ourselves as a world-class international business center and one of the most desirable locations for new, expanding, or relocating businesses. We will continue to be the urban laboratory for education and business. Through the cooperative efforts of residents, businesses, and local government, we are evolving into a city that offers the best of both worlds, an attractive business environment, and an outstanding quality of life. We are united. We are international, multi-generational, culturally aware, and diverse. By remaining focused on our mission, we are confident that we can address the challenges that lie ahead and work to preserve and enhance the unique characteristics that make Fort Lauderdale such a special place. Fast forward, Fort Lauderdale 2035, the city you never want to leave.
Any comments?
Wow. We need a better tagline.
Alright, this is the picture, and you can see this is actually part of a hurricane presentation when I shot that last year, 2 years ago. PowerPoint. So what was interesting here to see is how the city translates their ideas, how we perceive this as living space, as activity space, as workspace, as family space. How are they doing this in terms of a vision statement? So the first web page I showed you guys, it's about the vision plan. What do they have in mind? What they want to deliver? Same thing I talked to you guys today and on the teams. What's your vision for the development? No? So you need to actually do that as part of the final report and part of your presentation. You've got to have an idea what type of team you are. Huh? What kind of philosophy, that's an easier way to explain it. What kind of philosophy do you put into your team? Huh? Extremely capitalism, don't care about employment centers, only big bucks, versus maybe you have to deal with social space. Huh? So got to think about how you draft that into a few sentences, as in our vision is we are a specific development team. We envision the following ideas, like livelihood, livable spaces, vibrant neighborhoods, all this kind of buzzwords. It's coming from the planning world, a little bit from also from site marketing or place branding. Yeah? Place branding, that video, clearly saying, we're cool, come and live with us. Telling you that what was in the early 90s, Miami, where people would get rear-ended in their rental cars and then being actually pretty much executed and robbed on the street. Used to be like one or two of the Germans. Big story over there because I think that German couple got shot in Miami. Rear-ended, gunpoint, shot, robbed. How do you overcome stories like this? You start doing good marketing for your space and you actually do changes in your space. So think about that. If you talk to friends that used to live here for decades and decades and decades, certain areas in this region have not been as great as they have been before. Now, time is a changing factor for spaces. All right. Oh, actually plugged it in. Good. Problems of site planning and control of spaces. Well, this is an interesting thought. I'll make this really short today, but there's interesting thoughts on that. Site planning has limitations in control. We're limited by the framework, the envelope of the site. You will see when Bob Shapiro comes to class, he is thinking outside of the framework. He is doing site planning and trying to maximize profit and livelihood. Yeah? But we talked about in the next 5 to 10 years, how do you need to change the streets 5 blocks down this development to actually deal with capacity of your system of flow. Again, there's a chapter in the book that talks about systems of flow, 60 years old. We are still doing this on a daily basis. How do you arrange traffic flow on a site? How do you arrange walking flow on a cruise boat or in a shopping mall? Huh? Little examples we have not been really exposed to Same thing here. Layout of subdivisions. What do you mean with subdividing subdivisions here? Huh? At regional scale or at local scale? If you look at Google Maps just for the simplicity, and you look at those mile by mile by mile patterns you can see, let's say the city of Plantation and the city of Davie, those subdivisions change their patterns in traffic and water bodies. I don't know if the water body was there before, but certainly the traffic pattern aligns in different ways around it. Yeah? Preparation of long-range site plans. What do you think is a timeline for a long-range site plan?
Different phases?
Different phases? 15? What about 25 to 50?
I say anything over 10 is long range.
Everything over 10 is long range. Well, it depends on your site. A university campus can have hundreds of years planning, 10 to 15 years out, but could also be evolved over certain time frames. Berkeley is an example here in the as an example in the book. I actually have the visuals for that. Yeah? This campus here has a master plan. The master plan needs to be updated again because we put where soccer fields or football fields used to be, green space, we put the new towers on there. It took just a year to build that. So redevelopment of sites is important. Placemakers in sites is important. How many of you teams developed a placemaker for the future police station? It's part of the community profile. There might be a placeholder involved for the police station.
But wouldn't that all be contingent on the growth of the environment that you're talking about? So like for instance, you're saying that it's based on the actual site itself, warehouse or campus. That's all contingent on the growth. And even a police station, to add more police officers is because there's growth in the area.
But let's say like this, you envision growth in a region, if you don't make space for future larger roads to connect the other corner of your city, let's say as a green belt, if you don't make that leap to make a placeholder, 25 years later you have an issue because there's no placeholder anymore. Now you have to deal with single family homes in the way of your new arterial road. That's bad planning. Yeah? So when it comes to long range site plans, different phases incur different traffic patterns. So I have to think, okay, in 5 years and then maybe in 10 years, how will I change that? How will I make different, will I have different impacts then? Huh? We didn't foresee Uber coming as a traffic pattern 10 years ago. Now it's all over the place. Now we're changing airports with Uber drop-off and pickups places. Huh? If you have the space to do that, you designate zones. If not, you hope that people are understanding that they have to walk a separate block or terminal.
Would environmental also be a criteria? So like global warming?
Yeah, you could say maybe in the next 20 to 50 years, coastal redevelopment might have a different flavor.
So that's long range, or that's based on the immediate need?
I would think long range. Long range, you gotta be prepared for changing environment. Yeah? A friend of mine did an article years ago about sea level rise and how that will impact real estate in Florida, beach properties particularly. Yeah? So just thinking, simulate, add a foot, add a few centimeters, whatever philosophy you have in that, how is that impacting actually other elements? In some hurricanes and some storm systems, it's not necessarily direct hit by the winds, it's the 10-foot, 12-foot storm surge coming that levels everything. You know? So there are different philosophies and different observations for that. Again, this is weather stuff and climate stuff. I'm not going to lean out of the window. I'm not the expert. I'm observant of literature and science. So, but there's also various different opinions in place. But yeah, we can keep that. But again, it depends on the region. Sea level rise is an immediate discussion here in the coastal region. Wildfires is still a discussion in places I used to live. They have different occurrences and different intensity. You know? Different reporting in the media, because if you burn 300,000 300,000 acres with no structure impacted because it's just wildlands somewhere in the forest, then it's not worth the media. If it's 2 or 3 expensive homes, Bruce Willis. Yeah. Well, he has homes in Ketchum. He doesn't really have a home in the canyons. Okay, what was the question?
Oh, to answer his question, like in Miami, in Miami Beach, they want to implement a law by 2025 that any construction done after 2025 has to be done on 20-foot stilts. For that reason, for like water surges, so that no one gets, or like residential areas or homes and living areas don't get flooded by seawater. It all goes underneath the house, underneath the building.
2 years, didn't follow up on that, but 2 years ago, I'm not sure if it's Hialeah or other neighborhood. 2 years ago, there was some reporting done about real estate being bought up in one of the poor neighborhoods. They claim gentrification for that, as in you buy it up and you redevelop. No, the argument there also was because it's like 5 foot higher than the surrounding neighborhoods.
Overton.
Overton? Yeah.
Same place we were talking about the Germans being robbed. That's a higher land in majority of Dade County.
And I'm living in Florida for 3 years. I learn every day a little bit. So yeah, this is small reporting, but think about that. 5 foot or 3 foot, just 3 foot difference. Different drainage, different slope. Now we mentioned slope, finally have it. Different impacts. Building codes. Can't build whole new construction without impact windows. To make sure that there's no follow-up damage with the increasing storms. So Tuesday this week, short conversation between faculty at lunch. Fellow faculty living in the intercoastal area and on the river. Impact windows, sure, no problem. Cat 4. Most impact windows built in, put in the homes right here are rated for category 4. If you go up in wind speeds, Cat 5, you're moving out of that durability window, literally a durability window. Well, that's something scary to consider. So, what happened in the Bahamas? Oh my God. I only can say, oh my God. Alright, keep clicking this. Subdivision. Coming back to this comic here, cookie cutter cut, don't care where in the region it is, cheap building, don't care if I have to drive 60 miles to work. There is a legal definition of subdividing, subdivision. There's also kind of a social, cultural context of subdividing. The legal definition is the process where vacant land is divided into lots and public right-of-way, providing sites for future individual buildings. Commonly done by 10 acres for the purpose of redevelopment. You actually pay the cost of subdividing it maybe in 2 parcels, 2 times 5, so you can build 2 phases of 5 acres to each. Because then you have legally distinct lands of pieces of land by different deeds. Yeah? Makes a difference in financing, makes a difference in process, because in the worst case, the second 5 acres, what you can do with that, sell it off if the market is different. Yeah? So again, mitigation of risk, definition of risk, is the probability of risk is the probability of total loss. If I can mitigate that and cut pieces of my cake, give half to Andrew, I still have my half. No? Common method of putting land for use in low-density residential subdevelopments as well. That's a statement from 1962. It is still valid. Yeah? There's still somewhat a stereotype in terms of who's available, who's able to fight the fight against subdividing or planning or development powers. Yeah? Any idea what this is?
Manhattan.
Zoning.
Central.
Manhattan. Right, Manhattan is a Central Park, but it also says New York zoning. 1916, they defined what is a perfect lot size and how it has to be sold. They also said there's a building ratio for the height based on the zoning and the street width. Similar thing like you guys already started doing. Where are we going to place higher buildings or lower buildings? Yeah? And the reasons for subdivision, again, I mentioned cost, pace of development, I think the most important element here. And then subdivision has a social advantage. Take a look at that. Do I have other notes where it's yeah, because you actually can put in different circulation, ambience, etc., functional adequacy, creating the order of such. Yeah, the strongest resource is street and path system in a subdivision character, which brings us back to linkages. There's even this example of superblock. Yeah, superblock. I'm thinking American Dream Mall. Huge subdivision, retail space with hotel, etc. Yeah? Subdivision plan needs to deal with disruption of design process at large. Something to remember. And now I come back to the Berkeley example. He's presenting this test, circulation bottleneck versus hypothetical location. This is stuff you will see when you do that sketch design. You will take a look at it and it's like, where is my entry point to my subdivision, my site plan? Where's my potential exit? Is both the same, or am I doing two? Yeah? So you start thinking about where are my bottlenecks in circulation. Think about going to the Tower shopping centers here. Yeah? The little stop signs back and forth between Home Depot and Costco. It's terrible during rush hour. Yeah? Nobody really thought about the idea, okay, where do we create circulation bottlenecks? The whole thing is a bottleneck. Yeah? Good thing that there are enough restaurants and bars next door so you can do a bottleneck. It's 4 p.m. It's time to make jokes about that. Alright, subdivision character again, that's what I just read out. Yeah? Street path system, shapes, languages. Can't skip this. This is the example on superblocks. Think about that. Where are our superblocks? We will have actually a presentation about what I would consider superblock. 95, Sterling going north to Griffin. Dana Point, 2.5 million square foot. That's a superblock. Yeah? With a specific own site design, their own planned unit development. They got actually special zoning code for that site. They're that large. Yeah?
They used to be boomers.
Hmm?
They used to be boomers.
The roller coaster park used to be there.
Wow,
Yeah.
It's in there now.
Nothing.
The building.
Oh no, Dana Point is open, guys. I was there yesterday.
Yeah, it's massive.
Different faces.
What's in there now?
It's huge.
Outback Steak, auto parts, retail, urban, fitness shop,
So it's like a lifestyle center.
whole mixed-use development lifestyle, 2 or 3 hotels, I think 300 beds, 250 or 300 rental apartments coming right in the center, surrounded by retail, shopping, entertainment, adjacent to other hotels, so it's huge. I will share material next week. No? So think about that. I invite you. Google Maps is a good friend, technology in this case. You look in big zooms. If a development is larger than an international airport, I would consider that as a super block. No? Like if something is as development, bigger as Miami Airport, they put some serious dollar into that development. No? Alright, so we'll see this next week when Kona comes in here. You have the initial site plan for subdivision, yeah? Straight up cookie cutter, what you can do, the best money making machine, but then you consider actually wetlands and conservation areas, and you might actually end up in a completely different pattern. This is probably the same density in dwelling units produced, but they are more townhomes, if not duplexes, instead of those big lots. Yeah? But you also can see street network is minimized and maximum of wetlands and corridors. Yeah? Long term, 20 years and higher time frame for that. Yeah? Campus, hospitals, power generation, waste management. It's usually that part. We forget here and there the ideas. Yeah? We did talk about who plans for what and for whom. That was the beginning of this class. So I pulled out Berkeley because this is the example in the book. Different setups, 1914, about 40 years later, 40 years-ish. Yeah? We can see still structures. This is kind of the corridor. Yeah? This is kind of the same corridor. But there is a rebuild and add-ons in there, original structures here. Another year done, Google Earth, about a year old. You can see those structures and those patterns coming. These are the two original structures. This is new. If you look at that street, that changed the street a little bit, but this is new. Okay, you can go in and say, oh, it's still working. Didn't work. This is current one. This is our campus. To give you an idea, this is where we're at right now. Business school, library, student union building. This one here are now Mecco Hall dorm towers. This is College Avenue, east side. This here is the example from the GIS class this morning. This is the digitizing of the competition pool. These fields do not exist. This area here is parking for residential towers now. Competition pool. This is a public safety building. Goes up to medical school area. These buildings do not exist. Wait, medical school. This is the construction site for the hospital. So it's a little bit dated. We'll see if we present an updated plan for that. That's it. Alright, we have about half an hour. I do invite you guys, since the tables are still occupied, to break into the teams, final thoughts on your plans and division, and then we can close. I will go for each team again a quick round and practice the idea of, hey, what do I see here? Where do we come up with this idea? Is this part of your vision plan? Okay?
As far as the midterm?
As far as the midterm, wait.
Statement. I'll type a vision statement for us. Next time. Are we meeting on Wednesday?
Should be on.
That's for next Saturday?
Yeah, I can do Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next Saturday.
Where is the plans here?
Wednesday's good with me.
Alright, let's take a look, one look here. So, this should be out, but I just pulled it from my local machine. So this is an example for, it's all letter size, you can print this out. marked out as a series of different maps with topography. There's also one PDF in there with a grid. So if you put some pattern paper over it, or you want to start drawing, you get like a grid for the scale. This is the site from our example for the site planning sketch. You can see here there's actually interstate coming, which is in the trenches. Yeah? This is the off-ramp, the exit. This is the street connecting to a major neighborhood, almost interstate field. Yeah? This is the street that connects to the on-ramp a little bit north of the property. Yeah? So, and this is here also an existing shopping center. Yeah? So the idea already when we talk about circulation of systems of flow is where would you connect your site? Because it depends where you tap in. You have interregional traffic versus local traffic coming to the site. Yeah? Those places here are still small homes. They're not part of your solution. Yeah? One of the coolest dive bars in that neighborhood is here. Really cash-only crazy place. Yeah? I went there twice in my life. It's too far away for bicyclists. But think about this, it's to scale with the neighborhood. If you scroll up, you actually can see that. Your drawing does not have to be perfect in scale. It has to be perfect in concept. So if you make streets like this wide and buildings only like this, doesn't work. That's the main restriction you have is if you drop a specific use on there, there's somewhat a specific area covered to be covered by parking. Yeah, and the assignment says that. Let's say single family would be 1-to-1 ratio. If you do apartments, you need to have one or office, you need like 2 parking spots. So if you put this as office space, you gotta have some space open for that parking. So with the squares, you can help a little bit and render it out. It's a real world example. This has been built. Yeah, the package. I have it close up here. This is the aerial before it was built. Yeah, so you can see different features here. After the eminent domain case was settled, they literally the next day came in with bulldozers down those homes. They didn't wait much. Yeah? But you can see here a little bit more. This is actually literally a drop of multiple feet, how this actually pans out. And the idea is that you sit down and think about this concept of linkages. What kind of function would be feasible for that space? Function. Now you take the second step, distance and access between those functions. And then you finally go down to the idea, well, I want to do a fast food restaurant. Where would I place a fast food restaurant here? Where do I arrange parking spaces, green spaces, circulation, etc.? Again, this is a fairly easy concept if you're doing it in a structured way. It doesn't have to be a perfect landscape architectural plan, you young gentlemen. Yeah? But you gotta put some effort in it, as in there are clearly distinct features in there. I don't expect a 3D rendering with trees on there. But clearly show, hey, go, this is the difference between grass and maybe trees. If you do green spaces. I'm more than happy to show you, if I show you examples, I take away innovation. Already take away of innovation is, that corner is one ugly hotel in real life. So don't do that. Use the provided materials first, start doing an idea, how would you develop that? There's a small write-up I gave you for the details. And then seek additional information. Again, not a neck-breaking exercise, but this is one of the creative exercises that will benefit for the rest of this career and in the program. I had lunch yesterday with a guy who puts billions of dollars into the ground in development, and we talked about this assignment. Why? Because it's necessary that you would be able to say on a piece of paper during lunches, get a pen out, just do a rough arrangement on how you would go. They did multiple evolutions, as he calls it, of site plan management. They started out with just about 1 million square foot, Now they're doing 2.5 on the same site. Huh? So think about it, what makes sense on this area, in the neighborhood, in the regional context, and be creative. You do not have to do a financial study on this. But it makes, think about what will make sense in there. Traditionally thinking what makes sense. All right? Let's break it in teams and then we can have, oh, and I will post a study guide. I give you the luxury of, actually I give you some training questions on how I will ask in the exams. Huh? No notes, closed book, closed notes, handwritten. I'll probably give you 4 questions to answer. Huh? Handwritten, short essay style. Huh? Maybe some sketches if needed, depending on the question type. You do not have to sketch a site plan. Huh? But here and there, if you talk about perspective and design, something like this, and saying, hey, like you have different perspective in space, like the pictograms in the book, fair game.
This assignment is for us.
That's in 2 weeks. But I didn't want to talk about this right after the midterm because some people are faster, some people are less. All right, speaking of talking.